Welcome back, everybody. Guess what? I got another guest for you. This guest is amazing at what he does, but more so, let's figure out where did he come from, right? He's a tall dude. He used to play ball. Well, a lot of ball, he said. And, the season's upon us ever so often. And aside from sports and let's just go. What do you remember about sports, right? Isn't it dynamics of your family and where did you take that energy? Where did you go to learn? Aside from learning, what drives you? I really started thinking about those phrases actually, and not only drive but pathways. Finding which way can lead you to succession or succeeding in the task that you put your efforts in, right? So, basketball, for example, is similar to putting your energy in practicing every single day. I mean, if any of you know who Kobe Bryant was, then go look him up. Even if you're a kid, even if you're an adult, because you'll understand the ethics of hard work and putting efforts into uh, whatever you do. And even if you own something, a brand, uh, even if you have been an inventor your whole life. But let me actually introduce you to this gentleman that I just brought along with me here today. He is from Lafayette, Indiana, and I welcome you, everybody, Dave Schleppenbach.
Great to be here. Thanks, Hershey. It's exciting, as always, to get to talk to you.
Yes, absolutely, Dave. And so let's rewind the tape to where do you come from, or what state are you from, or give me your background. Like let's go back to I don't know, third grade.
Wow, that's it gets harder as you get older to remember all that way back. But well, I mean, just in terms of childhood, I was born in Florida. I was actually born in Tallahassee,
Nice.
and shortly when I was young, we moved to the rural Midwest in a small farming county in Illinois,
Okay.
and I grew up there. So in third grade, I would have been going to St. Anthony's grade school. That was a kind of a farm school, had maybe 55 students, K through 8
Wow.
total.
Wow.
Uh, and actually, one thing I remember in particular about it is, the grades were combined. So, for example, seventh and eighth grade was combined together. And we had five boys in our seventh and eighth grade class, and that was the basketball team. And you
Wow.
weren't allowed to be sick. You weren't allowed to be injured because if you were, we'd be playing 4-on-5 or
Oh
something.
man.
So,
So one down, one down. Ooh, yeah, there's sports like that. I mean, isn't like some of the soccer games in the World Cup. Like if your player's out, it's done. You gotta go with what you got. So
yeah. Well, I mean, and these the basketball in the Midwest is sort of a religion. It
is
is,
it
and so people show up to watch the game. You're playing no matter what. I
right?
remember many nights when we had three guys and the other team had like 12. And that was. I liked it though. It was fun. Got a lot of exercise. Of course, my true passion though is baseball.
Okay.
And I spent a lot of time playing baseball and
And
competitively did a lot of sports.
you know what, Dave? I don't know if you have got time to watch the channel because I know you have a lot on your plate. But our good mutual friend Dave Hillebrand, he mentioned to me the other day when he was on my show, the record that he has is "Take Me Out to the Ball Game." Right? I think it was in 1908.
Oh wow, I'm
And
gonna
he
have to
has
ask him.
he has that
Yeah.
collection. I mean, he mentioned it, and it's so fascinating. But what drew you to the sport of baseball? Like, what is
Well,
that
I
compassion of it?
that's interesting. Growing up in a farm community, I had farms on all four sides. You spend a lot of time outdoors as a young boy, and some of that's hunting, fishing, and just kind of general outdoor stuff, and some of it's doing farm chores. But one thing that always brought the neighborhood together was playing what would be called, I guess, sandlot baseball, and we had a farmer that would actually mow a baseball diamond for us in one of the fields. And so we would have our games together. And that just led me to appreciate it. And then I was very, very fortunate growing up where I was to be able to listen to KMOX, the AM station out of St. Louis.
Nice,
It's a blowtorch, it covers half the country, especially at night.
right?
And I had the great and legendary Hall of Fame broadcasters, Jack Buck and Harry Carey, Mike Shannon, that would bring the games over the radio. And growing up where I did, it was very rare to see a game on TV.
Right,
So radio is where it's at.
right.
And the way that those men described the game, it was like painting a picture with words, and it just made me fall
It's
in love
art.
with the sport. It's art.
Yeah. You know, I'm thinking, and you just at the end, you took me to another. It's like a roller coaster with you, man. I'm just saying, but teamwork is what keeps underlining right now with where I'm at with this, because do you feel that modern day, this present moment, teamwork is what is actually driving you, or that is kind of the reflection? If because look, you mentioned baseball, you mentioned basketball, it's all about teams. Uh, your organization will get to a little bit later, but do you feel that you're driven by the teamwork aspect of life?
It's interesting you mentioned that. Maybe I don't always think about it that way, just in those words, but I can tell you something that nothing gives me a greater feeling of accomplishment than walking in the door and seeing this team of people all working very hard towards a common goal. It's really just amazing feeling. And you could be on a baseball diamond and seeing all the players in sync and everybody working together, and just the magic is happening. You could be on a factory floor, it's the same thing. And it's very humbling, and very satisfying to be a part of a team like that, because I think when people work together as a team, they accomplish more than the sum of the individual parts.
So true, so true. It's it could be so many different ways you could explain that. You could say it in a philosophical way. You could say it in the true facts of the matter. But it, sometimes it's always that challenge of where do you belong as well, because sometimes the challenges are there, but people aren't probably trying hard enough for to defeat those challenges per se. Um, what are some challenges that you say you've had along your way?
Wow. I've lived a very interesting life. I've had kind of extremes in both directions, one might say. I've had some very deep challenges personally and professionally, and I've had some incredible positive moments and successes. To think of the sports analogy, roughly half the time you play a game, you're going to lose that game. Even the best teams win 60% of the time or something. And
Right.
so you have to be able to bounce back from that. And that may be what makes you a better entrepreneur, is just not giving up. And, in my personal life, I've experienced extreme poverty. I've experienced food insecurity. I've experienced homelessness. When I was an infant, I was abandoned by my mother, had to learn to deal with that. And there's just a lot of things like that that you grow up with, and you maybe don't even know any different because it's just the circumstance you had. But on the other hand, I've also been part of some very successful business enterprises. I was able to study science in graduate school at one of the top universities in the world.
Which one
I've
is
met,
that,
that's
if I
Purdue
may ask?
University in
Okay,
Indiana.
okay, okay.
Yeah. Met a lot of famous people, and,
Right.
had a chance to hopefully improve some lives. And I think when you think about being resilient in the face of failure, a quote comes to mind that I cherish, which is by
Okay.
Michael Jordan, the famous
Yes.
basketball player. And he
Okay,
said,
awesome. Let's go.
awesome. He says, I have failed and failed and failed again, and that is why I succeed. Just never quitting in the face of that adversity.
Exactly. Wow, you just flipped me back to the finals.
Yeah, very
His tongue is
memorable.
outside.
Yes.
Utah Jazz. He has a fever.
Oh, that
I
was
don't
such a
care.
great game. That
I
was
don't care.
unbelievable.
I mean,
Yeah, I
the
to
adversity, though.
think after that game, I remember thinking, how could you ever call in sick to work ever again, right?
I mean, the amount of power you put into that, just that
Yeah.
energy. And man, now you took me back. Like, I had the Scottie Pippen Nike Airs, and
Yeah, oh
had the
yeah.
big letters on the side.
Another story I cherish,
Sure.
there's a really famous baseball player,
Okay.
at least in the Midwest, Scott Rowland, who
Okay.
played third base, and he played with a couple different organizations, but
Uh,
he played with my beloved St. Louis Cardinals for quite a while. Incredible third baseman. He was known for being just a wizard at defense, as well as a very accomplished hitter. At least in my lifetime, probably the best defensive third baseman I ever saw. And he runs a camp in Indiana. He's from Jasper, Indiana,
Nice.
and he runs a baseball camp. And one of the things that he teaches kids is every day, whether it was raining, sunny, cold, hot, whatever, no matter how good or bad a day he had the previous day, he would come out and take 1,000 ground balls every day to practice to make sure that he would always field that ball whenever it was hit to
Wow.
him. And that's something because there's a lot
Yeah.
of days when you're
Effort.
maybe not feeling that 1,000 ground balls, but you got to
Right.
do it.
Right. And that's part of life's journey, right? You have to be thankful that hey, you woke up, got to keep it moving, so to speak. I know for myself, challenges are there, but you got to be a little bit adverse to the surroundings, I guess, and keep trucking along. Interesting enough, a quick story on my end, as we are talking about hometown sports heroes. Vince Carter went to Mainland High School, and what we saw with the tomahawk and everything else,
Yeah,
that actually happened in high school.
I don't doubt it. What an athlete.
So this, remarkable, and giving people back is also an understatement for him because even out here locally, he's had a few facilities to help people with their challenges, and again, it's a teamwork thing. As we just keep on underlying, and the other theme I'm catching here is experience between you and I. Me being from Zambia originally, and then being in states, my experiences, but our experiences are so similar. Is the significant part that sometimes people we don't look at it in the simple terms, right? It's
There's no doubt. And, we both traveled a lot. We both interacted with a lot of different types of people. I always tell people there are some experiences that change you as a person. And I think in some way would be good for everyone to experience just to give you perspective on life. As an example, I usually talk about three different things. I talk about spending time working in a morgue
okay,
and understanding mortality,
right,
spending time in a prison
right,
and understanding how that goes, and spending time homeless. And I have been homeless. I have worked in a morgue, and I have worked in a maximum security prison with inmates. And, those are all life-changing events for me to just put in perspective that, you may have your temporary issues or concerns, but some people, have real issues and
exactly,
concerns. And we have a short life. And, there's nothing that really can be accomplished in our modern era without both hard work and teamwork.
exactly,
Projects are so complicated now. All the easy stuff has been done. So if you want to do anything, it's just you gotta gather people together, and everybody has to stay on the same page,
same
row in the
page,
same direction, and that's
right?
hard to do.
It is, and it doesn't get. I mean, they say virtual is hard, but it. I mean, there's some parts that are easier, but it's the mentality. Some
Hmm.
people are still used to landlines, let's just say, and
Hmm.
then some people are I want fiber optics. But where do you lie between those two extremes?
I've always been a technology person. I was kind of lucky. I spent a lot of time as a kid hanging around the university in my hometown, which is where my father worked, and I had access to some very early computing technologies. I bought one of the hobby kits for the I think it was called the Timex Sinclair computer, where you had to
Nice.
put it together yourself,
Yeah,
right? And
yeah,
then
yeah.
do stuff. I had the 128th PET computer ever made.
Hmm. Wow.
It was stamped as a serial number. That's how I know. And I had a cassette tape drive,
Right,
and
right, right.
a membrane keyboard. And then I went through a series of computers. So I've always been really interested in technology, and rather than be scared of it, I'm always fiddling around with something, just same as you are, just trying to figure out what is this? What does it do? How can
Exactly.
I use it?
Yeah, and then sometimes you just don't realize the simplicity of something could be so useful for somebody, or
Hmm.
you just spur of a moment. I mean, I remember you were down here in Florida a while back, and we'll get to how we met, but just a conversation. And hey, how about if I slide my phone on this thing? Hey, what about if I slide this other device I make under? We'll get to that device. Hold on,
Hmm.
but just that. both our brains went on this tangent of like bouncing ideas so quickly, but you mentioned you wanted to record. Where is it? North Carolina or somewhere? There's a mansion or something, right?
Ah, the Biltmore. Yes.
Yeah. So
That is in North Carolina. It's in Asheville, North Carolina.
okay, what makes you fancy that place?
Well, it's a very interesting place. It's the largest privately owned mansion, in the country. It was built by the Vanderbilts, who were obviously extremely wealthy, and the story behind it is really kind of amazing. They built their own railroad just to go there to build the house,
Wow.
right?
Wow.
Um, and it's got
Is that how Disney did it? Did they
it's
like it?
kind of similar, right? Yeah, we're just build everything as we go, and
Right.
it was so renowned that during World War II, the Smithsonian moved most of their valuable artifacts to the Biltmore for storage to be safe in the event that Washington, D.C. got attacked.
Ah, so
Um,
that's
Kind of
that's
crazy.
yeah, yeah.
And it's what also really makes it for me is that it has not just the structures, the houses, but it has the most extensive botanical gardens of any place I've in the world I've ever seen. Just hundreds and hundreds of acres. You could spend a week walking through the gardens and
That
not see it all.
that's
Just phenomenal.
fascinating. Yeah. Wow. Thanks for painting that picture, by the way, Dave. That's a great. I'm like stuck in this garden now.
Yeah, oh, it's beautiful. And
Wow.
every garden is segregated by different categories. So you can go to different continents and see,
Right.
flowers and plants from all around the world. And,
Right.
to me, I think opening that up so everyone can enjoy it, r right now you can imagine a mansion built in the early 1900s that did not really think about accessibility. In fact, they
Right.
didn't even think about people of my size. So there's some of the
That.
hallways where I can't even stand up straight, and you think, geez. But it is what it is.
Right. You mentioned a term there, world. Where have you been in the world?
Well, I've had the fortune to be overseas to Europe. I've been in Mexico and Canada. I've been to all 48 mainland U.S. states very
Wow.
extensively. And in fact, every major city in every state pretty much. And it's given me a real perspective on people.
Hold on. Hey,
And
can I just hit the pause tape?
sure,
Can you repeat that? How many states and how many what? Give me
I've
the
been
statistics.
48, all 48 mainland states. Yeah.
Wow.
I've only ones I haven't done are Alaska and Hawaii,
Wow.
and they're on my bucket list.
Hey, anybody? Let's go. Let's make this accomplished. I mean, this what? So every state
Every state.
and pretty much the cities at
Every
least.
major city in every state, yeah. So if you
Wow.
name a state, the bigger cities in that state, I've very likely spent significant time, and
Right.
uh, it's amazing because it's like different universes almost, where you meet
Sure.
people and the circumstances are so different,
Sure.
but then you also get to know that everyone really underneath is all the same, and their daily life it's the same as anyone else's.
For comfort of what state do you have keenness to? Like, what's your favorite state? Is I don't want to say
It's
that way, but
It's funny you ask the question because it's always so hard to come up with a singular favorite.
okay,
Um,
top three.
yeah, I say I definitely have a soft spot for Florida, being born there.
Okay,
I love that the climate, especially southern Florida,
right.
and the Florida Keys. That seems to be the climate I was designed for. Let's just say that way. And there's a feeling of home when if I'm driving down to Florida, I hit Valdosta, and suddenly I feel like I'm
Yes,
crossing home.
yes.
I definitely have a soft spot for Indiana.
Hmm.
Very proud of what my state that I live in now has accomplished, and
Absolutely.
it's there's a lot to be said for the people here, very strong and resilient. The weather isn't the greatest, but that's true of a lot of states. And then, to me, probably my favorite ecosystem in the US is the Mojave Desert. I find it
Interesting.
just stunningly beautiful.
Right.
And you can see that in Nevada, you can see it in California, Arizona, parts of Utah, even parts of Idaho. But really, that
Let's imagine that someone's totally blind. Could you paint a picture of what that might look like?
the desert is almost a sacred place. It's very quiet, is the first thing you notice.
Okay.
There's a stillness and a quietness that almost seems somber or um, sacred. But as you listen, you'll hear little noises and little hints of things. They're little tiny hints of life everywhere you look and everywhere you
Right.
listen. You'll smell, plants very clearly because the air is so dry. You'll
Gotcha.
see little creatures hopping in and out of burrows. You'll see little hints of green poking
Right.
around here and there, collecting water. And the rocks in the Mojave
Mm.
are just incredible. There's the Painted Desert, there's Red Rock Canyon, where you've got layers of color that
Wow.
look like someone intentionally painted it that way,
Right.
like a watercolor almost.
Right.
But that's just nature. It just
That's the way it is.
became that way. That's the way it
Yes.
is, and it's an area that you can feel at peace, and
Mm.
it's hard to say that in today's world.
It's so certainly true. You know, I went to India last year, and then you went to. I'm from Africa originally in Zambia, and to just think of the different nations and the different climate, especially with it was what 113 degrees, 15 to 14 degrees, typically there.
Wow.
But it, it is what it is. But it's between like how they have the Mexico or Saint New Mexico and southern Texas and that area,
Hmm.
the heat's drier. Even Arizona, the heat's dry.
Hmm.
Where Florida, it's all about that humidity and stuff. But let's talk about what made you go from Florida to other states, or like where did that journey start? I mean, how did you end up at Purdue?
So that's a good question. So I moved involuntarily from Florida to Illinois because that's where my father moved for his work.
Right.
So I grew up in rural Illinois, and I, when I was younger, felt called to service of some type, as many young men do. And so, at the time, I was spending a lot of time at the local university, which is Quincy University, um, and it is one of just a very small number of Franciscan friar-run universities in the world. So those are Catholic
Wow.
priests.
Okay.
It's a particular denomination of Catholic priests
Okay.
modeled after St. Francis of Assisi. And having had a lot of experience and exposure with those wonderful friars, the Franciscans basically raised me like one of their own. Of
Okay.
course,
Right.
Franciscans can't have their own children
Okay.
because they take three vows, which are poverty, chastity, and obedience. So
Okay.
they live very austere lives like monks, like you
Right.
would think of a Buddhist monk or something.
Okay. Understood.
So growing up with those friars, they were very generous in teaching me things like science and philosophy, and I decided fairly early on that I wanted to become a scientist. That's always been a passion of mine,
Wait.
science and
Hold
technology.
up. Like, what did you just say? Scientist?
Yeah, scientist. Yeah.
Hold up. So we talked about basketball player, baseball player. Okay. Let's see. Let me. I'm writing the things down. Continue. Sorry.
It's a pretty big change, right? I
Because I'm like,
maybe a simple summary is I never could figure out what I want to do, and maybe I still don't know, right? But I've
apologize
done
for
a
the
lot of,
interruption, but it's just like, wait, what?
yeah, a lot of different things, and I had a passion for science ever since a young age.
Okay.
I did well in school and actually even started college early.
Right.
So I started college when I was 14, which is kind of
Awesome.
unusual.
Eh,
And
why not?
basically, I studied every class I could get my hands on because I had a scholarship. So
That's awesome.
by gosh, I was determined to get my money out of that, right?
Right.
It's
Definitely. Every
if
little penny. Yep.
if I got to play baseball or run cross country or play tennis or something to get free school, that's fine with me,
Let's do
right?
it. Right.
Let's
Let's
do
do
it.
it.
So I ended up taking science. So I have a degree in both chemistry and mathematics. And I was very close to degrees in biology and physics as well.
What
Uh,
would those two have served for you with the biology
well,
and
a lot of it is not knowing what I wanted to do still, right? I mean, I even thought about medical school at one point.
right?
I worked in a hospital for 5 years,
Mm.
had a lot of experience with patients and
Mhm.
different
Healthcare
avenues,
systems.
including things all the way from the laboratory to paramedic to the morgue and you name it.
Right.
Um,
Because you're
and
getting
then
experience, right?
getting
People.
experience and just trying to figure out, I like all this science stuff. There's got to be something here for me. And I ended up also studying extensively philosophy and theology, which is required. At one point, I was actually in the seminary program
Very
studying
nice.
to be a Franciscan priest.
Ah, okay.
And as they say, I went a different direction, maybe, right? But
Perhaps.
you know, that I like to think that the concept of service has stayed with me all those years. And
Right.
um, and then I also studied computer science because I like computers.
Why not? Again.
So I had all this in a giant bucket, and I was
Right.
trying to figure out what the heck I wanted to do still.
Uh-huh.
And when you're getting to be a junior, senior in college, the clock is starting to tick, right? Like you have to figure out what you're going to be graduated soon. You better know what you're going to do.
Certainly.
And one of my advisors, a very good friend of mine, was my physics professor. I loved physics. And he said, there's a school you really ought to think about called Purdue University. That's where he went to school and got his physics degree. And he said it's one of the top schools in the world for science and engineering.
Right.
And, it's not far from here.
Mm. And
So
this time you're in outskirts of Indiana, pretty much.
yeah, exactly. So, from my hometown, it's about a 5-hour drive, not
Not
far
bad
at
at all.
all.
Yeah.
So I said, okay, let's apply to Purdue. And sure enough, I got accepted. And kind of a funny story about that is I still
Okay.
didn't know what I wanted to do. And I couldn't decide if I liked math better or if I liked chemistry better or physics better. I knew
Mm.
something.
Mm.
So I applied in multiple areas and I thought that'll show them because they're going to only pick me for one and I won't have to choose. Well, gosh darn it, I got accepted in multiple areas. So I
Oh,
still
wow.
had to choose. So I ended up in a program called chemical physics,
Okay.
which was kind of new to the university at the time. And
Hmm.
it basically combined chemistry, physics,
What
and
what
math.
decade is this, if I may ask? Sorry.
This would have, I came to Purdue in 1994, so not the 90s.
Okay, so that's exactly when I moved to the USA. Okay, carry on.
There you
We'll
go.
talk.
So, I ended up basically combining the chemistry, physics, and math. And, that was when I started to develop an interest in graduate schools, when I developed an interest in helping people with disabilities and got a little sidetracked with that one and then stumbled into
Thank you.
entrepreneurism and the whole thing happened. So that's how I made it to Purdue.
Well, no, thank you for running into disability work there. But sorry, yeah, Purdue wise, I mean, congratulations. I mean, it's I've had a couple friends that I've spoke to on a daily kind of thing, and some incredible work that goes on. You would think Indiana, it's middle of just the country kind of thing, but there's big things that happens within Indiana. I mean,
That's
Reg,
right. And one of
should I
my
say at least Reggie
advisors,
Miller? Let's just throw Reggie
there
Miller.
you go. One of my advisors was a Nobel Prize winner. I mean, you can't get any
Ah,
better than that.
not at all. Not at all. So that came into education wise, and where did that lead you to post graduation, or what
Yeah,
happened
so
after
I still wasn't sure what I wanted to do. You might notice a theme here.
that? It's okay.
And while I was at Purdue, I had gotten interested in teaching students with disabilities. So as it turned out, when I was a teacher, my first year of graduate school, I was a a TA, teacher's assistant,
Right.
and I was teaching general chemistry, and I was teaching physics, I was teaching organic chemistry, calculus, general biology, those
One,
type
one,
of
one, one,
topics.
one more thing. Organic chemistry. What was your experience there with the students? Were you that professor that was difficult for them, or you know,
It was kind of the other way around.
you're you explain because that's one of the hardest courses, I guess I would say, in the science
It's very, very
ecosystem.
difficult. Organic chemistry is super challenging,
Right.
and it kind of relates interestingly to the blind students that I'm about to get to. So,
Okay. Okay. Sorry.
one as a precursor before the blind students showed up, I was teaching organic chemistry, and you're supposed to have two sections of 24 students each, and as a TA,
Okay.
so that'd be 48 students total.
Right.
Yeah, there may be at Purdue, for example, in general chemistry, there was something like 5,200 students total.
Wow.
it's hard to even wrap your head around, right?
Wow. Yes.
So there are thousands of students, and we were getting ready for a midterm exam. And I said to my students, you know what? I can tell some of you are really nervous about this.
Hmm.
I'll come and do an extra tr teaching session.
Hmm.
I'll be here on such and such evening, and we'll just use this
If you
empty
show up, I show
classroom.
up. Right.
Yeah, exactly. And so I came that e next evening that I said I would show up for the review,
Right.
and I'm walking and I hear a lot of like noise and people, and I'm thinking, oh, geez, somebody must have scheduled something.
Right.
I'm probably going to have to like put a sign up and move to another room. So I get to the room where I thought it would be empty, and there's all these people in it
Right.
and overflowing out in the hallway and everything. And I'm like,
Wow.
gosh, I really screwed up here. My students are going to not know where to find me.
Right.
And then all of a sudden, somebody says, "Oh, Mr. S, here you are. We've all been waiting for you." And I'm like, what is happening? And there's something like 300 students that came to my review session.
Holy
And I
smokes.
guess word of mouth had spread that, this is
Somebody knew what they're
somebody that
talking
could
about.
help you, right?
Right.
So I ended up staying like 4.5 hours that evening with
Wow.
those kids. And um, so during all of this, we
Mhm.
had three blind students come into Purdue as freshmen,
Interesting.
and all
Blind
three of them
students
wanted to
doing
be
organic
science majors.
chemistry.
Organic chemistry,
What?
general
See,
biology,
anyone could do anything, guys. Just saying.
anyone can do anything.
Stop whining. No, I'm just kidding. But for new
So
generation, I mean, they should try they should try their hardest, right?
absolutely, yeah.
Yeah.
Truly, I believe anybody can accomplish anything. And
Right.
these three are walking proof. And,
Right.
they came in, there was no warning, no prep, no anything. And they got assigned to me, hey, figure out how to teach these students. And I said, well, how does one teach a blind student
Mm-hmm.
physics, for example? It's
Mm-hmm.
all
Yeah.
charts and graphs and formulas. It's complicated.
Right.
And basically, the answer I got was, this is a good problem for you to figure out. Right.
Uh-oh.
So I just started figuring things out, and I started with things like string and glue,
Right.
and Velcro, a lot of
Mm-hmm.
Velcro,
Velcro's
and
well, it's your friend.
three-dimensional models. And
Yes.
I learned something very quickly in organic chemistry, which is, kind of special. Organic chemistry is a very three-dimensional topic. And
Uh-huh.
yet, the way we teach it to sighted students is with two-dimensional
Two-dimensional
drawings,
drawings.
right? So I
Ah.
had a lot of
Okay.
students that would say, like, I'd say, describe to me what methane looks like. And they say, well, it looks like a plus sign. It's a
Right.
flat cross.
Right.
Well, that's not true. We draw it that way, but it's
Mm.
actually a tetrahedron. That's a three-dimensional object, like a little pyramid kind of.
Okay. Okay.
And the
Yes.
only way you would know that is if you actually had looked at a three-dimensional model. Well, the three blind students, we used almost exclusively models because I could put it in their hand and they could feel it.
Mm-hmm.
So they had a natural understanding of chemistry that was
Mm-hmm.
actually better than my other students. And in fact, those three ended up as three of the top students in a class of 680. I think they were all three in the top 10.
Wow.
Amazing.
Amazing, I guess, but it's also you figured it out. It's you. It's also you, Dave. Just to let you know.
Well, I
Because
always like to say, in spite of my help,
okay.
two of them went on to get PhDs and one got multiple master's degrees. So
Right.
I guess they figured out, that the true disability was having me as their teacher, maybe, right?
Well,
So
what about that as we just talked about Michael Jordan's quote, failure, right? This keyword failure. If you fail forward, you're still failing, but you still got something to pick up and go forward with, right?
yeah,
And with this situation here, they didn't fail this course. This is one of the hardest courses in life, let's just say.
yeah.
Or for maybe a brand new college student. But aside from that failure point or being afraid of what you can or cannot accomplish, it's taking it to present day. So from that point, you were teaching others as a TA. What's world next?
Well, at that point, when I watched the success, I mean, my average student would get something like a 37% in organic chemistry. These kids were getting in the 90s. And I said, there's a better way to teach chemistry, and these kids are teaching me that better way, and we should do this for everybody.
Hmm.
And at that point, I felt a very strong calling that God was directing me to help these people to learn math and science and to consider doing that professionally, not just as a hobby. And, in the research I had done, I had discovered there was very little tools for teaching math and science to people with any type of disability.
Right.
And that just seemed wrong to me because we
Yeah.
have a shortage of math and science workers.
Agreed.
So gosh, why wouldn't we want everybody who could learn it to learn?
Right. While that process happened for you, what were those challenges there at that point? I mean, were there any?
Well, the biggest challenge was lack of information. So this is a time really before cell phones and internet. I mean, it was in the very early days of that.
Sure.
So like if you wanted to talk to someone across the country, you
You
would
got
call,
mail. Sorry.
yeah, you would call their secretary and schedule a call for the next day or something. And then you'd have to hope that you were both at the phone at the same time. And, if somebody left their office to go get lunch, that was it. You didn't have any luck until they got back. And so forth. So things were a little slower. When you wanted to do research, you went to a thing called a library,
Still a
and then
good place to go. Yes.
you went back in the stacks
Yep.
and you found the actual book and you
Yep.
made a copy of it or whatever. And there was a smell there that I remember very fondly in my mind of the smell of the library.
Hey, could you remind me of modern day though? If I wanted to find a newspaper article from, let's say, 1998, can I still go to the library and probably find that article?
It still exists. It's getting harder. A lot of that stuff
Okay.
is on microfilm, which is pretty durable, but it does
Okay.
have a shelf life. And there's been a lot of efforts to digitize all that content. So most of it is available online. But when I say that, usually it's a picture of the pages of the paper, not the actual, it's not searchable content, for
Right.
example.
Right. Because I'm just thinking, like, so in 1998 in Florida, we had the Florida fires, and
Hmm.
my parents were able to give the firefighters pretty much, here are the keys. We'll get you donuts, coffee, whatever you need, essentially, because the property's still in existence. But it taught me about the the way we take care. I mean, it's the Who Cares A11Y bar channel as it is, where blind accessible resources is what I'm trying to bring to the people. But when you take it to present day, how do you find the resources to accomplish something for those tasks that you have at hand, or accomplishments that you want to, your goals? Like, where do you go for your resources?
Yeah, I mean that times have really changed, boy, haven't they? It's
Yes.
a little easier nowadays because you can find things quickly and obviously the internet is a great resource. There's a lot of content. You do have to be careful to make sure the content's accurate. You can read, summary articles like Wikipedia to start, but you got to dig down deeper and do learning. Almost all books that have been published anytime recently are available as digital books. So that's convenient. You can just get them on your phone. You don't have to physically go and find the book and make sure the lighting is correct and
Right.
all of that. And there's even more advanced tools that have just come out. Everybody talks about AI a lot, and
Hmm.
generative AI is useful in summarizing knowledge that's available out
Right.
there, on the internet. So that's a tool now where you can ask a question to your computer and you can have an answer that at least gets you started in 10
Sure.
seconds.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I know, I mean, I'm more of predominantly on Gemini. How about yourself? What are you using these days?
Basically whatever I have at hand,
Okay.
right? So I'm sort of agnostic in terms of operating system or
Right.
particular apps. I use Windows a lot. I use Mac. I use Linux. I use Android. I use iOS. It just depends on the day. Although I do walk around with a Apple iPhone. I bought into that ecosystem
Right.
fairly close to the early days, and I have too much money invested now to change, despite
Certainly.
my wife's protests that Android is much better. So,
It's the word better, best, their opinions, ladies and
hmm
gentlemen. I'm just saying, I'm not calling out your wife or anything at all. She's a lovely person. But what I'm trying to get at is, we had this on the iBug Android Insight, and we'll get to that in a minute with what we're going to share about what he's doing today and these days. But it was the fact that you don't need to be brand specific, really, as you just said.
hmm
It's OS specific, maybe, but AI is a operating system now. I mean,
Hmm.
things are Copilot is turning into that. They've taken away the Microsoft Lens, but you don't need Lens because now Pilot or Copilot, excuse me, might be doing it. But aside from the new technologies to old, what do you miss from back in the day?
I can summarize that with a very simple story, and
Okay, go ahead.
anybody that knows me knows that I love to tell stories. So
Sure, man. Let's go.
when I was a undergraduate, I spent a considerable amount of time in the university library. Let's just say that we were very blessed that our university had an extensive library, the largest one probably in all of the Midwest, considering that the school was a fairly small school. And we even had rare books dating back to the 1500s and so forth that I was allowed to look at, and with gloves even handle. But the librarian was Father Victor,
Mm-hmm.
and Father Victor was the most patient, most kind, and smartest man I've ever known.
Mm-hmm.
And I swear he read every book in that library somehow.
Wow.
And the way that I would find information is I would get a question that I needed answered. I would go find Father Victor
Mm-hmm.
and I would say, I need help. Here's my question. And he would say, okay. He'd go to the book index and he'd say, here are 37 books
Wow.
that you can
Just
read
like
that will give you the answer on that topic. And I could never figure it out. But other than that, he was just a genius and he loved his books. But that was my Google was Father Victor.
wow. And that's the thing with the reading aspect, that manual thing. I mean, yes, we are reading through AI and our computers, our screens, but that physical. I mean, for those who can, I understand some, don't have eyesight from birth, but there's a thing that they learn, which fine, we'll just say the word and we'll drop it at this, but we'll come back to it is the word braille, right? Braille is a language in sorts, but we'll get to that. We kind of fast forwarding the tape if we do this because there's a lot of other stuff. Matter of fact, we mentioned your wife earlier. If it's not too personal to ask, could you tell me how did you meet her?
Well, it's an interesting story. So we met a number of years ago. In fact, she was born in Florida as well.
Okay, cool,
She was born in St. Petersburg. Her
awesome.
family moved her to um, rural Texas, Western Texas,
Mm-hmm.
and then she then subsequently moved to rural Indiana. So sometime after I had come to Purdue, um, we met because we had our children were going to the same school together, as it turned out. And I was an only child of my mother and father. And she was an only child of her mother and father. And so even though we had a few half siblings, we were basically both raised as only children. So we kind of had that in common.
Right, right,
We both had large families, and so we met, and our friends actually, our children, excuse me, became friends with each other. In some cases, best friends. So fast forward to about 8 years ago, I had lost my spouse to cancer.
mm-hmm.
I was living as a single parent,
Okay,
and she had also lost a spouse previously.
mm-hmm.
She was living as a single parent.
Condolences to both.
And so, when you think about it in the olden days, I think society would have maybe pushed us together, but I
Right,
look at it as a blessing from God that we were both
fate.
struggling with this and fate
Mm-hmm.
was there. And in fact, she lived only about 5 minutes away from me. And so she came to help me during my time
Right,
of need. And
right,
we just quickly discovered that not only had God put us together, but that we loved each other. And it was
right.
simple from then on out.
That's that. Wow, you're making me think in a lot of different ways, man. That's that much, Dave. Because people don't always realize that about life, I guess, if you want to say it that way. But sometimes we complicate things that we try to rush into, or
That's right.
we don't observe. We just kind of dive in first. But do you think that life has made us do that more because our frequency level of things, or our momentum, or the obligations in life have kind of increased, or where do you think we are with that?
there's just way too much pressure and high, it's a great description, high frequency things in life, too much information, too much stress. One of the things that my wife and I like the best is nature. We spend a lot of time in state parks and national parks, go to as many as we can. And those are a place for you to sort of reconnect with who we are as humans and how we exist in this world and how we're part of something bigger. And a lot of times I'll have children with me and, I'll say, let's see if we can discover something new about nature today. Well, the kids will be running off and poking behind bushes and moving around quickly and trying to, let's go find that nature, right? And I have to explain to them it doesn't work that way. What'll happen is if you're calm and you're patient and you let yourself just become one,
With
with what's
that's
happening, it'll come to you. And
mm-hmm.
sure enough, I think it's almost without fail.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody will calm down, everybody relax, everyone will get quiet. Maybe we're walking very slowly, and suddenly you'll see a mother bear and her cubs. You'll
Right.
see a 6 foot blue heron. You'll
Uh-huh.
see, a mountain
Turtle.
lion. You'll see a turtle. You'll see a manatee. It's
Right.
whatever the case might be. You'll suddenly find flowers you didn't know existed. You'll see things you didn't think you could see. And it's all about resetting expectation. And it sounds weird coming from someone like me that's so into
No,
technology,
it's
but
fine. Say it.
it's just you have to not forget that we are part of something always, that this world that we live in. And if we get too far away from that, whether that be with our actions,
Right.
our thoughts, our diets,
Yep.
our interaction with other parts of the world, it's just a bad thing.
Yeah.
And modern society is terrible about that. We don't walk, we don't eat properly, we don't take time
Certainly.
to enjoy things.
You know what it also reminds me of is vision loss. I know it kind of sounds funny to say it that way, but it's the spectrum of, as you said, sometimes you have to experience, see, do, and they say, well, if you're blind, your other senses are better. That, that's a myth. That's truly a myth. It's the fact that you're paying attention is the certainty of it. So, as Dave just explained, if you pay attention to your surroundings, hey, wow, I could feel something underneath my feet. So, what do you call a scientist? Is it like Dr. Schleppenbach? Do I call you?
Well,
What do I
Dave
call
is,
you?
you call me
I,
Dave.
no, no, for scientists, I want to. We're
Uh,
gonna put you on a hat real quick. So,
yeah. If
Dr.
you
Schle-
uh if you have PhD, you can be referred to as doctor. Now,
but what about just a scientist? What do
just a
they?
scientist, I don't know that there's an official
Right?
term for that other than
We need to lobby one
scientist
of those.
guy. Yeah.
But what the question would be is, let's take these folks to a body of water where I come from, Daytona Beach area, and underneath our feet is this thing. Could you explain the scientific aspects? Because I got to learn some interesting hairy stuff there. No, wait, it's not hairy. Never mind. Explain it, please.
It's interesting. Probably the most difficult and most fascinating science when I think of the ocean is geology.
Okay.
And most people think it's very boring,
Right.
rocks, what's up with that? But when you start thinking about how the earth has existed, how oceans
Right.
form, and
The
you start feeling
colors.
things, the colors. So when you stand on a sandy beach, you're feeling rocks that is eroded and worn down into these tiny little particles over millions, billions of years. You're standing in water in the ocean that is the same water that existed, 3 billion years ago. It's just been moved to a different place.
Right.
And you may be standing in the ocean now, but it could have been that
Is
600
ice.
million years ago it was ice, or maybe it
Mm-hmm.
was solid ground.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um, when we find dinosaur fossils in places like the desert, it turns out that they were actually underwater creatures that lived in a sea that existed in that area, you know, 800 million years ago or something. It's very profound. And there's no better way to think of how things are interconnected than to ground yourself by standing in the
Right.
ocean with your feet in the sand.
Right. There's some kind of term or phrase you had called that's in the sand that your wife had enjoyed to get her feet in the sand, so to speak.
Mhm.
Could you remind me on that term?
Yeah, it's grounding is the term that she uses. And,
Okay. And
you know,
is it
is
some kind of cilia in the sand or some kind of
exactly, yeah, it's the silica. And
silica? Okay.
sand is, we think of a very simple sand is actually silicon dioxide, which is
Okay.
a combination of silicon and oxygen. And some of that silica actually can be used to make silicon, which is what computer chips are made out of. But
Science.
our bodies have a
Yes.
need for very vast amount of what we call trace minerals. You might have heard, like, if you're sick, take vitamin C, for
Yes.
example, or
Absolutely.
zinc, right? And those
Hmm.
are elements that exist in our world, and we are designed to have at least some of those elements present in our bodies at all
Hmm.
time. And modern diets, eating at McDonald's, they don't really think about adding silica or zinc or whatever to their burger, right?
Right. Right.
So in order to foster that, it's important to experience that. And this is something that's become much more accepted now in modern medicine. It's sort of
Ayurveda and yeah,
a blend of Eastern and Western, right? And
exactly.
it turns out you can absorb a heck of a lot of nutrients through your feet.
Okay.
And that's why your feet are so important to your health.
Right.
And so as you walk with your bare feet touching the ground, you
Hmm.
actually are absorbing nutrients, you're grounding yourself, you're connecting with the earth, and that helps your mental and emotional and spiritual health.
True. I remember as a kid, I was told, "Hey, go walk in the grass. It might help you bring coolness to your eyes. You know, like if you have
That's
a lot of
right.
heat in your eyes." So, um, and you know, it's again, you have to believe in what you believe in instead. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely. And some of it, if I've studied science my whole life. I've known a
Right.
lot of scientists. I don't think I've ever seen anything that lessened my faith and my beliefs, and almost all of my colleagues are very similar. It's a deepening because you start to understand how things work and you marvel at, well, my goodness, it's so complicated. How could any of this be an accident? There must be something behind all of this. It can't just be a coincidence. And it can be little things like just seeing a butterfly perched on the edge of a branch or big things like watching the power of a hurricane and everything
Yeah.
in between.
Yeah. And so many like you say extremes of it, right? And depending on continentals. Um, you mentioned a term here. Another one I want to pull out of this is colleagues. Whom might those be?
Well, nowadays my colleagues are my coworkers, my friends, or people who've
And
become
and
my
where
friend.
where does this come from, or where are you at? Like, what place? This is this your place, or could you
Yeah.
let us know what's going on?
So that would be my business, which is called
Okay,
Tactile Engineering.
okay, okay.
And it's a high-tech robotic assembly factory.
Nice.
We make a product for people with disabilities.
Okay,
And we have about 30 people. I started this company in the 2010s,
cool.
and with a couple of partners of mine who I've worked on a number of projects with. And we got a small but really dedicated group of people. In fact, I'm talking to you today just after we had a bunch of people come in and run a Saturday shift for us because we needed it.
How many were on that shift, if I may ask?
We had 5 people today
Okay,
that gave me a Saturday, and
okay.
we actually set a record for production this past week in our sprint. So it was pretty exciting that, again, seeing that team come together, right?
You got me all statistically interested. So numbers, please.
So we just produced in the past 3 days, we just produced 57 units,
Whoa.
which
And
is a record for us.
I I remember a lot of parts. Just we'll come back to the product name, but let's go back to your colleague. So you've 2010. This is what you've out of college at this point. Um, is that kind of the thing?
Yeah, so I left Purdue teaching in the late 1990s, around the
Okay.
year 2000, and I went through their entrepreneur program. So the president of the university had just started that. You might know that nowadays almost every university has like a research park or a technology transfer or entrepreneurship program. It's a very
Okay.
common,
Right.
but back then it was still a new concept, and so I was one of the first people to try it. And
Early adopter.
early adopter, the president said, "Hey, you might be good at this." And of course, not knowing anything, I said, "Sure." I mean, when the president asks you to do something, you're inclined to say
Yes.
yes, right? Okay.
Absolutely.
So I then started a number of different businesses, and I've been a what's called a serial entrepreneur since then. And I've done medical
Do you add milk to
devices.
that or
No, it's actually people think it's like serial killer, like you know where the
no,
bodies
no.
are, right? I like adding milk to
Is it like TV?
entrepreneurship. Yeah, I have not done any food products, but I have done medical devices. I have
Okay.
done
So
um,
so basically, if you want, it's episodes in your life, right? Like TV
episodes of my life.
serials and
Exactly.
chapters,
I've had a number of seasons,
seasons.
and
Okay.
those seasons include making medical devices. They include doing programming and IT. They include doing video game
So
stuff. They
give
everything.
me something in the medical. What do you remember there?
Well, one of my exciting things, or two really that come to mind, I
Okay.
worked on a device that could diagnose and remove tumors, breast cancer tumors, outpatient right in the doctor's office. And so what would
Wow.
happen is you would get a mammogram, they would
Right.
spot the thing,
Right.
they would use effectively a giant needle that would remove the tumor and detect whether or not it had gotten it all, and just the doctor would continue until they had cleared the tumor. It wasn't months of waiting and stress, and it was all done, in and out in 30 minutes and
Right.
on to the next step.
Is that product still in existence?
It is actually, and it's something that is on the order of $1 billion market, I think, for a very large biotech company. And so it's kind of nice to see that it's actually being used. And another example of one I worked on was a device that used artificial intelligence, and you
Okay.
hear this a lot, and
Yes.
that
Yes.
is um, that is no longer well, when we did this, excuse me, this was very new. Okay.
Got you.
So it wasn't like you could just use GPT or something. We were using the early parts of it, but we built a hands-free voice assistant for doctors and nurses.
Okay.
And the idea would be that while their hands are full, they're operating or they're working or they're setting
Mm-hmm.
an IV or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
they could talk to
All
this
scopes of doctors,
computer,
not just like one. It could be a surgeon or a
anything,
right.
nurse, doctor, whatever.
Right. Right.
They can just ask the computer a question and they'll get a validated medical answer, and
So
it would
you
be
are the
proven correct.
provider of the language model
We
as
built,
we
we,
model we say today, I guess.
yeah, we built the hardware and the software.
Okay. Okay.
So, and it would basically hang in the room. A great example would be a nurse would go to get a medicine for a patient. They go into a special room that's locked up to do that, and they draw the drugs out of a special machine. This is all to prevent drugs from going missing or getting
Right.
the wrong drug.
Absolutely. Yes.
Well, while they're in that room, they could ask, what's the maximum safe dosage of this drug? Or if for pediatric application, what needle do I use? Or whatever the case might be. And the answer they get would be a trusted answer.
Exactly.
So that was just one field. I mean, and
Right.
and when I think about it, it's crazy because, like I said, I've done IT and
So
programming
what
companies.
let's pull some out of there where we okay, so we kind of said, okay, I do the medical stuff, I know it, you've made a device. Then what I have my I started off with IT, so IT's, a love for me too, but where does IT and I mean programming, that's
Yeah, well, it's I'll give a couple examples there too.
sure,
Then
sure.
very early in my career, I did kind of the what you would call a computer setup, computer repair type shop. People, this is before you could just buy computers at Best Buy or whatever, and people would want to buy a computer, so I would custom build them one and get it set up for them, go to their house, install it, train them. In fact, I actually worked for vocational rehabilitation doing that exact same thing, but for people with disabilities.
Nice.
So maybe they would need to use something like Dragon Dictate, which was a
Got
speech
it. Yep.
recognition platform. And that was considered complicated back then, unlike your phone does it all nowadays. And
Exactly.
so I would help set that up. The other one that I have fond memories of is I worked on a company that did what's called low code coding. So basically
Hmm.
trying to help people who were not programmers to create their own apps.
Okay.
And we had an environment where you could basically do a lot with very little knowledge of
What
how
ecosystem would that kind of be
it was
under?
all web based.
Okay,
So
so
you would,
HTML5 or something, that kind
yeah,
of.
you would create
Okay.
web apps, mostly in JavaScript,
Okay. Okay.
HTML, and so forth.
Right.
CSS,
Right.
and you could do almost anything with it. It was really cool. It's and
And that
that
led it to be
is
more accessible. I mean, I guess Java could be. I mean, it is sort of, but Java has its days.
yeah. Yeah, and that in particular was mostly focused on mainstream, but it did have the advantage of also being accessible not just for people with disabilities, but to anybody, because in the broad sense, most people are not experts at coding, you know,
Exactly. Yeah.
and that
S
product is still in use today.
Very cool. So I have a family member in India. Her name's Twinkle, and she's in the IT field. So 25 years old, give or take. Let's just say, what would be your advice to a person that is sort of in this IT world of things, and what trajectory or what direction? Because I mean, again, there's so many things to pour. You don't want to put concrete down your feet and then put water because
Yeah.
you're stuck. So,
Well, there's a
what's
couple
your advice?
things. I think one is obviously just staying current with what's happening with AI is going to be important. Even if it's not used, it's going to be talked about an awful lot. So you have to know what you're doing there. And then on the second side, getting very comfortable in one programming language is really important. It doesn't have to be a particular one. There's a lot to choose from nowadays, but you'll find that if you master one language, it's much, much easier to learn other languages because you have the basics down.
So, what languages are your favorite, or what's your
Well,
go-to?
it's kind of interesting. I have a long history, so I've
Hmm.
learned a lot of languages that
I guess
nowadays
Cobalt before
I
to
actually had 2 semesters of COBOL in college, and
okay,
I thought that would never be used. And then Y2K happened, and I got to do some
right.
stuff. But I started with a language called Logo, which is a teaching language. And then I learned Basic, which is very popular back in the 1980s, um, 70s and 80s. I did things like assembly language. There's a number of different ones there th with funny names like Forth and Snowball and things like that. I did study COBOL, which was a kind of a business-oriented language. Fortran was required for
Fortran,
science.
yes, yes.
Did C and C++, obviously. And then nowadays they have something called C sharp. Um,
I think I was
and
at C++, so that's where I kind of met you at. the,
yeah,
the
there
the
you
rest
go.
I was just like, but sometimes, as we said, the instructor, the person, professor, that's what matters to me, because I mean,
Hmm.
my professor is a silent key, as they say in him, but it's the way he taught it, making a register app, basically what I remember, and you put in a burger, fries, whatever you may order, but then it calculates it, spits out a receipt, so to speak.
Hmm.
But it just teaches you how your mind thinks. And so Fortran, C++, C sharp. What were you saying for modern days?
Yeah, in modern days, I obviously have to flex with the times, and so we do a lot of work nowadays in JavaScript and TypeScript. We actually use Rust, which is a
Rust is
relatively
good
new
stuff.
language.
Yes, Rust and
Um,
Go, I would say, are
yeah,
strong languages.
strong languages. We have done stuff in Python and just about if we need something, we pick it up. I even have done a little bit in Haskell, which is kind of a NASA language. So
Hmm.
they're just you name it. But I
So
would
what
say,
era of NASA would you call that?
not recent.
Hey,
That's
you see,
just
we have all kind of people that watch. I mean, I'm just blown with we're taking them on all these journeys, but it's our words that are painting a picture. I mean, it's
yeah,
talking head, but still, why not? And as you said, you've dove into these different elements of life and experiences, and I believe that's the truth in life, is experience it, because you just never know. You never, if you haven't tasted it, maybe it's spicy, maybe it's not. Try pepper. I don't know.
yeah.
It's stuff like that. But carry on with what you're saying.
No, I have some spiciness. I think although my heart has always been with assistive technology and accessibility, I did have other ventures in other areas, and a strong one was in consumer electronics, video gaming, and music. And so my partners and I did a
So,
lot of stuff in that as
like
well.
what neat, like cruising USA.
Well, not so much that, but we
I mean, I remember at
actually,
Walmart when I was, and again, vision loss, right? We still showing spectrum vision loss, because you've taken me back to 1994. I'm still driving with you. But do you remember that game? Just a quick
Oh
pit
yeah.
stop. Like
Oh,
you
I
remember at
do.
Walmart,
Yeah.
it was like hey mom, can I get 50? Dad, can I get
Yeah.
whatever? Or you had them in your pocket, but you had to go
And
play at least
you
one
could
round.
sit inside the little
Yeah, the little,
cockpit with the wheel and all that. Yeah.
and
No.
you had the desert because when you said desert, that's the picture I remember. If you remember, it was
Yeah.
uh
One of the tracks. Yeah.
Deadful Valley or something, or
Yeah.
Death Valley, right?
Yep.
And you're
Death Valley.
driving through
Yep.
this mountainous, but you see cactus and you see all these. So
Yep.
I've had vision back then, but that's exactly what I imagined when you were telling me the stories from previous. But with
So
technology, go ahead.
just to talk about some of those, I have again always a couple favorites, right? But
Yeah.
at one point, we were the largest producer of outdoor laser tag equipment in
Say
the
what?
country. Outdoor laser tag.
I played that too. The one you mean you go to the arcade?
Yeah,
The
except this what you could do outside in the
what?
woods and in direct sunlight. It was incredibly high tech for a toy. Um,
Yes.
and in fact,
Could it
some
harm
of
anybody? I mean,
no, not
just
at all. It's completely eye safe. Yeah. And
right.
as a matter of fact, that technology ended up getting licensed by the military, and they still use the basic concept today for training, which makes sense, of course, because it's
So
safe
if you're
and
taking free throws, I think you what 4 out of 5. I'm sorry, I'm doing statistics. Okay, carry on.
something something like that.
There's only one product you mentioned so far that is not in existence. It's like the second one you mentioned in, but go rewind
Yeah,
the tape, guys. Please be kind. Rewind. Go
there we go.
carry on.
Yeah, and so then also in that genre, we did a lot with video games and music, and you might remember the video game Rock Band, where you could
Yes,
pretend to play instruments. And so we developed a full drum set and drum pedal
this is
to
like
play
early
real
2000s,
drums. Or,
right?
yep, exactly. And the idea would be you'd learn to play drums by playing the video game.
So
And
you tell me this Professor Schleppenbach had something to do with this?
that was something, you look back and you can't decide if you're proud or not,
No, that is so awesome, Dave. I'm
but
sorry, like
there's
that.
just a funny story there
Yeah.
because what we did to do that is we bought real drum equipment and then modified it to work with the game, adding all the electronics and sensors and so forth. And as a matter of fact, there's a very popular drum company called Pearl. They sell a lot
Yes,
of like
yes,
introductory
yes.
drums.
Yeah.
And so we came up with a drum pedal that would work with Rock Band, and we advertised that
What?
barely. I mean, we put a few posts on some forums and had a very
What year
simple
was this,
website.
please? Because
Oh gosh, maybe 2006, roughly. I
it
don't
was,
know.
wasn't it? Like I the apartment complex area that I lived, Dante Culpepper actually stayed there. Or no, no, yeah, Culpepper, because he played for Minnesota, right?
Hmm.
Yeah. So he stayed, but just that kind of historical value there. But friends around the neighborhood. So that was a neighborhood where even as college kids we kept our doors open, and it was just we looked out for each other, a neighborhood. And I remember a friend, he had made crawfish and all this. We just out back. He had a cookout, and my roommate had a pit bull. But she was so funny. She actually, my roommate Mark was around, and he came home, like he went to go off to go grab something. Came home. This dog ran so fast that pulled off the whole log off of the fence
Oh
and
gosh.
just started running. And it's just like, wow, this dog is strong. But sitting there, and they're like, "Hey, Hirsch, you want to come play this thing?" And like, sure, let's try it. Because you had DDR, right?
Hmm.
Dance
Oh
Revolution and
yeah.
stuff. But using the different pads or different pressure points, such whatever the contact points are.
Right.
But to just because and then so let's see, elementary school I played drum snare, pretty much middle school snare, and then when I went to high school, I was rest in peace to Rashad Worship, but he had passed away in the ocean, trying to save somebody. And I remember the first day I pick up this bass drum, and to march in 95-degree weather in Florida and humidity, it was okay. I made it through, but it's that work ethic.
Yeah.
Perfect practice makes perfect. That
Yeah.
was kind of our motto. And having that drumline feel and Pearl, like I had a CB 700 snare,
Yep.
um, Zildjian Jazz
Oh yeah.
drumsticks,
Yep.
um,
And cymbals probably. Yep.
cymbals too. But I forgot. Sometimes we used to break the cymbal. I mean, we are
Yeah.
marching band, so
Right.
wear and tear. Just that. discipline though, do you think it's still around?
Oh yeah, oh, absolutely. Everybody complains that, maybe the latest generation is they don't know what they're doing or something. And
Yeah,
you got to remember that you were that generation once too, right?
exactly.
I think it's absolutely around. And it's just to kind of give a funny example on that. We were sourcing from Pearl, so that, they sell not that many. You'd be surprised. It's not a huge amount of drum kits they sell every year, right? I mean, drums are a challenging instrument because nobody wants it in their kid's bedroom or whatever, right?
Right.
Um,
Get a drum
so,
machines, give him headphones. Like,
right. And people think, well, it's too hard. It's so many different things. How could I ever learn it? So the first year that we sold these as accessories for the video games, and it was compatible with Rock Band and Guitar Hero, we sold out the entire world supply of those particular drum kits.
wow.
And Pearl called us and said, "What the heck is going on in Lafayette, Indiana? Right? What are
What
you
are y'all
guys doing?"
doing?
And
Yeah.
we were explaining, well, this is for the video game, and they had no idea what we were talking about, right? It was just complete
They're like,
craziness.
huh?
And so we did a few things kind of in that musical arena of taking acoustic instruments but making them electronic so they could either be transported or played. We even had one double drum pedal that's used by punk rockers to do double bass,
Nice.
so they can amp their bass but also play it for real, bass
Right.
drum. So
And we also mentioned a term earlier, ham. Uh, you're also a ham operator?
I am not, but I
Okay.
have had many friends who are, and I've
Okay.
always wanted to learn. So that maybe is on my bucket list.
Tell you what, I'm about to take my exam next month. I could get you a book hooked up and hamradioprep.com. I just saw this thing that says scholarship. I type. Wait, what's your reason of hardship? Okay, put in hardship. What's the reason you're going to take a ham radio exam? Somehow I moved them. I don't know what I did. I just said my story, right? Be real with
Yeah.
yourself. And I was given the technicians in general license as a scholarship award. So I'm working on my technicians. Next month, hopefully, I will be examined and pass the exam, have my technicians to start. And then I have the general for the next segment. So it's every 4 years they do the exam. So next year it's a new set of exams. So every
That
22 to
is
26.
incredible.
But it's the it's the fact that why not try, even for husbands,
Sure.
wives, whomever. You might be helping your neighbor. You never know, because you're at least stating the emergency facts, right? You might have a tornado down the alley or whatever. Weather things are different these days. Let's just say. And if you don't have internet, at least you have a radio that has battery. You have communication,
Yep. Emergency preparedness would be the first thing that comes to mind.
right? Eh, Trust me, if you're ready, and if anyone else is ready, put a comment down there for real. You never know where and how and what country you're in. I mean, people in India just have to go to their constituents who deal with that frequency. People here in the United States of America, we go to the FCC, Federal Communications Commission. So we'll, maybe that could be a challenge, Dave. Soon enough, next month, or maybe I'll meet you down the road. Both of us could be technicians. It's a 35 question exam. Just saying, 22
Well, there you
sections.
go. Yep. It's
So it's one of those, you go to sleep at night, you finish off 10 questions per
yep.
chapter. By that you're just memorizing the answer of the question and the question. If you
Yep.
have that photogenic memory, it's gonna help you even more. But then go read the book and go over and learn the concepts after the fact. So first, I think we can make this if we try. But maybe other people out there will too. So let's go back to we're in Indiana now. We mentioned colleagues. You done playing? So you're a rock star. No, I'm just kidding. And
Maybe a rock band
band
star.
star. Where did I go from there? From the rock band star.
Well, I at the same time I was also deeply interested in the assistive technology. So some
Okay.
of these side ventures were really ways to do some things that were creative, would scratch an itch, hopefully provide a little bit of income.
Yeah.
And all of that was sort of funneled towards the goal of doing these things in assistive
And these
technology.
those jobs or segments, I mean, how is that funded in that
Well, we
along the way?
largely we self-funded most of these ventures, or we would
Okay.
take the profits from a previous venture and put it into the new one.
Okay, so just re-injecting the pushing it
Exactly.
forward. Okay.
And my partners have been extremely generous and following me around on some of this craziness. Their passion was outdoor laser tag, so that they
Right.
dragged me into that. And
So that's where you got caught in the honeycomb
exactly.
of it.
And so then for revenge, I dragged them into assistive technology, and here we
Okay.
are, right? So.
All right. So you were this is what era is this? This is about 2010?
My first assistive technology company, I started in 2000. I exited that in 2014,
Okay.
and I grew that from two people to over 100.
Wow.
So it's
Okay.
pretty cool.
Yeah.
And then in 2014, I started the current company, Tactile Engineering,
Okay.
and I've done some oddball things in between there in AT.
All right. So that 2014 till now is what this is? Is
That's
this
correct. Yeah.
okay? So within those 11 years, what have you learned from about yourself?
Wow. Well, I think maybe I'm a little surprised that none of us gave up
Okay.
because it was so hard.
Hmm.
There have been a lot of things that I thought, oh, I don't know if I can do that. I'm not sure that I
Fighting
could learn
adversity.
that, right? It seems so hard. And then you just don't have any other choice, so you just have to do it. And then a couple years later, you're like, wow, I was actually doing that. I want to tell a funny story that
Yes,
helps
please. I
illustrate.
love them. Yes.
I have had the pleasure of several of my adult children working for me in some of my businesses. And what's funny about that is before they were adults, they were children, and they
Yep.
used to come with me to my office or whatever,
Okay.
and they would, camp out, or they would make
Right.
their little base, or
Have
they
fun
would
in their little
have
forge.
fun,
So right.
right? Exactly. And one of my daughters used
Hmm.
to love coming with me, and when she would get to my office, she would make a little pretend desk in the corner, and she'd have, little pretend papers, and she'd have
Yes.
a little holder for her pens and all that. And she would feel so proud to sit at her little desk. And when I would do work, she would emulate that, and she'd draw pictures or whatever. It's a very fond memory for both me and her. Well, she now works for me. And
Okay.
just recently, she got her own desk.
That is
And
congratulations, sir.
yeah, we were just talking about how amazing it is to come full
That
circle, that
journey.
the
Yeah.
journey. And I think that's maybe the thing I
Now your
take
colleague.
the most. Exactly. It's been a journey. We've all
Yes.
had life events. We've all gone through things.
Right.
We've all changed in some ways, but what we've learned
Family,
is
colleagues, journey,
all of
teamwork,
it. The journey is
experience.
maybe more important than the destination sometimes.
Repeat that.
I think the journey is more important than the destination.
Totally agree. Totally agree.
And so we just try to have as much fun as we can.
Yes.
And there are hard days, and there's going to be. And the first 5 years, we
Uh-huh.
literally were running out of a garage.
Uh-huh.
I mean, an actual garage, and there was no
One car
heater.
garage kind of thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's where our equipment was.
Right.
And so in the winter, we had a little space heater, and you would go out and
So
get the
for
machine
our
going.
foreign listeners, perhaps, what does the garage look like? Is it
It's a small room with a concrete floor.
okay?
It has a door that can open all the way up so you could drive a car in.
Okay.
And other than that,
Attached
it's
to the house, though, right?
attached to
Typically.
the house. It usually doesn't have heating or air conditioning,
Right.
or plumbing or anything like that. It's just
Right.
a room, and we put all of our heavy equipment there.
Hmm.
So what's called a CNC, which is a machine that fabricates metal.
Right.
And so in the wintertime, you would,
So
you'd
hold
have
up. Hold
this,
up. Hold up. Hold up. Hold up. You just painted this. The CNC was inside the garage.
yes, it was.
What?
It's a it gets
You
weirder.
were
Okay. We can go
okay.
weirder. So we actually, for the laser tag business, we had
Right.
bought what used to be a house in the middle of downtown Lafayette.
Okay.
Got a good deal on it. Well, the good
Yeah.
deal is because it used to be a funeral parlor.
Interesting.
And so when we first
Did
moved
this where
in,
is this where the mortuary part came in at
yes,
Bryant?
somehow,
Okay.
no, I mean, I worked at in a morgue
Before that.
when I was much younger, but
Okay, okay,
somehow
but
here I am back
full
again.
circle again with it.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we go down to the basement to kind of get things ready, and we find there are extra caskets and gurneys down there for transporting. There was a crematorium in the basement, just weird stuff.
Wow.
So anyway, what we ended up doing was moving the equipment into the garage because it was really the only place that
Right.
could hold the equipment. Those machines are heavy.
Yes.
You don't want to put them on a normal floor.
What would you say pounds, kilograms? What would you?
Oh, it could be a couple tons.
Okay, so this is not just like 50 pounds, 100
No,
pounds.
yeah, you require a
This is not one
forklift to move
body.
it, right? So, what in the wintertime, the procedure was that when you got there, you would turn on the space heater and then go get your coffee or whatever, because it's going to be a little bit. You'd bundle up in all your gear, you'd go out and get the machine going, and you would then have to go back in while it was running because it was so cold. And we had to actually adjust the machine to run in the cold because metal shrinks when it's cold, and that had to be factored in.
I
So you'd spend time listening to the sound of the machine, and when you heard the pitch change, you'd go running out to see what went wrong.
I better go check on that.
Better go check on it.
Right. So that was the garage. Where did that land you after that? Like where did the coin or did you where did you jump off the into the pool? Which
Well,
pool?
so, there was about 5 years of R&D and working out of a garage
Okay.
and, kind of going slowly, trying to figure out what we're doing. And you could argue we still don't even know what we're doing, but we will get there somehow. And at that point, we got to a point where like, okay, the R&D is done. We have to actually get serious about this. And so that's when we started fundraising, and we'd invested a lot of our own money in, of course, to buy the
Okay.
machines and so forth. But we
Right.
went to our friends and family and we got some additional investment.
Right.
And at that point, we were starting to get some contracts to do research for other companies and talk about maybe building products for them.
So this
So
is in your business plan. This is your R&D phase, I
this is our
guess.
R&D phase, and we
Okay.
thought maybe what we would do is license it and other people would build it.
Okay.
And then we had our companies we were working with come back and say, this is too complicated. You guys have to make it for us. And then we could sell it. But we can't, this is way too high tech for what we're used to. So at that point, we realized we had to build a factory. And
What was the? I'm kind of confused. What makes explain what this high tech means?
so our device that we
Uh-huh.
built
Uh-huh.
has 3,500 parts.
Okay.
And those parts are assembled at a micron level of tolerance, very, very tight
Ah,
tolerance.
okay.
So it's
Okay.
really got to be done by robots.
Uh-huh.
And we're pushing physics to the boundary. And in order to do that, everybody was kind of scared away and said, this is just too far out on the cutting edge. And,
Right.
that was a sobering moment because we tend to be fairly happy-go-lucky people. And we do things because they're fun and maybe make a little bit of money or make somebody happy. Laser tag and video game drums, you know. And now we're confronted with having to build a multi-million-dollar factory, and that's a whole different ball game.
Yes. Yes.
So it's kind of a gut check moment. Maybe the sports analogy would be that you're coming up to bat in the bottom of the ninth inning and you're down a couple runs, and the team's really counting on you, to get a home run, win the game. So we decided we can't do this with just our own resources. We have to get help. And so at that point, I made the decision to go to the venture capital community and raise money.
Okay.
And we did end up raising several $1 million, and that's what allowed us to build our factory and get as far as we have.
So when was the factory birthed?
We started that process basically right around the time that COVID hit.
2020.
Yeah. And so we had started building it just before COVID hit,
Okay.
and all during COVID, we were building. We were very fortunate that we had made a decision early on to source all of our parts in
Uh-huh.
the USA, and in fact, almost all the parts in our state of Indiana.
Okay.
That was because we thought we wanted really tight control over the parts in case something went wrong. We can go talk
Right.
to them. Well, we
Supply
lucked
chain
out.
problems, right?
Exactly. And we lucked out because the world discovered quick how bad supply chain problems can be when COVID hits.
But as your project management mindset, even here, another whole new hat I'm going to give you real quick. You can wear it backwards, but it's the way of you have to think ahead of the problem.
Right,
Why let a problem come and then you have to solve? Because that's how our mind should work. Is what are you solving? I could buy a whole bunch of equipment, but what is that equipment solving?
right.
So
Exactly. And the thought process we had at the time is, okay, we have all these parts, some of which are brand new parts that really nobody else can make. Let's get all of our parts made very high quality in a way that we control. If we're not making it, we're an hour away from the guy that does make it. We can go talk to him. We have everything that we need. We had no idea about pandemic. We had no idea about tariffs. We just felt that that was the best way we could do what we were trying to do from a technical standpoint. And boy, everybody said we were foolish. Nobody does all this stuff in Indiana. It will
sure.
never work. You should all do it in this country and that country and here and there. And now everybody thinks we're a genius, right? And if only they knew.
Well, again, there's a differentiator, of who we talk to, how we talk to. I mean, I brought in my friend Martin the other day, and the fact that the way we grew up together, we're so similar. The way you and I have grown up together, in the sense of, in 1994, you started this journey, but that's the first time I came to America. And
Hmm.
with technology, how it intertwines all of us, and learning or wanting to learn. I mean, I know that glasses are used, basically a CNC machine makes them. But the
Hmm.
high cost, what is your problem with the high cost of lenses, high cost of frames? It doesn't have to be that way, because
Hmm.
per material, it does not cost you that, plus electricity, everything else. So I'm not saying greed, but sometimes it's of the essence of where we put a price point of breaking even, so to speak.
That's right. Yeah,
And
there's
then,
a way to do something correctly and to be profitable, but not to gouge.
right,
And that's a balance I think everybody, all businesses should find,
for sure,
because if businesses do well and invent new things and produce new products,
right.
society benefits, but society has to have enough ability to buy the products or it doesn't work.
You've touched my heart in many different ways, in person, but I just want to take back from our story, just as we've discussed. My mom passed away from metastatic breast cancer, and so, like, to know that that device is still into existence, it, it almost brought tears. But I gotta keep it real on here, for real.
Hmm.
And even modern day, where you are with some of your innovations and partnerships with people, it's that thing where, if you think ahead, I was from the hospitality era, or that's where I kind of grew up. So middle school, elementary school, I would be at the motel. I remember 9/11. I was in ninth grade, freshman year, second class. So I finished pre-algebra, but that it's upcoming soon, and to think how many years it's been, and as well as the experiences of how my parents led a 64 unit property that today is now Destination Daytona. The firefighter story, as I told you earlier, and it's all done by teamwork. I mean, our
Hmm.
desk clerk to our housekeeper, everyone, the maids, the bike week people come in, they'll leave $100 tip, but thing is that's yours. You earned it. There, that's left for you, not for us. And it's helping our fellow peers, people, humans, out in the way that they should. If I wanted to come check your spot out or something, is there any visuals I could see for the sighted folks? I mean, I'm just having a fun time talking to you, but
Yeah, yeah.
is there a way to get around to your studio? Like, can you show
Sure.
them?
Yeah, I'm sitting in the office right now, so
Okay, so give us a description for people that don't have any sight. Like,
sure,
give us some,
absolutely.
what's going on over there.
Well, what I'll do is I'll step out of my office
Sure,
here
sure.
and we'll walk into kind of a couple different areas. And
Okay.
I'm going to start by
I know you don't
walking.
have original sound on, but if you did, then the audio would come out of it. This is all we see. We're getting technical again because it's
Yeah.
Zoom, but thanks to Zoom, this is happening with our conversation.
Yeah.
But if you go to settings and turn on original sound, then we get to hear exactly what's out there. But don't worry
All
about
right.
it.
Okay. Next
If
time.
next time,
Yeah.
right now we just want to give you visuals. So imagine we couldn't hear this
Okay.
thing, right?
So, yeah. So the first thing I'm showing is this is kind of our training and break area. And I'm walking by the wall and I have some pictures on the wall. These are blown up large pictures. And these are all pictures of customers of ours that are using our device.
While you explain it, how many customers would you say you have?
Well, we've shipped over 1,000 units, and we've only launched 18 months ago, so it's growing fast.
Whoa.
Uh,
Okay,
so
carry
that's
on. Sorry.
exciting. So some of these pictures are kind of inspirational to me. There's a story behind every one of them, and I'm looking at a picture right now of two gentlemen who are using our pocket-sized tactile computer. That's the product, and those are two of students of mine that were at Purdue. Those, remember I mentioned I had
Yeah,
three
yeah,
of
yeah.
them.
Out of the three. Yeah, yeah.
These are two of them, and both have PhDs in chemistry.
Wow.
So, and here they are full circle now using the device. And
That's
um,
incredible.
here's another gentleman. He's a blind individual who is an aerospace engineer. I've got a young boy here, a picture of a young boy who's playing a video game. He's in high school, also blind. I've got a picture here of an older lady who is chairman of the World Braille Congress, and she's
Oh, wow.
feeling a picture of a dog with her fingers.
Okay, okay.
And one of my favorite people in the whole world, I have a picture here of a little girl.
Uh-huh.
Her name is Lucy, and she's a cancer survivor.
Okay, okay.
And she lost her vision. She's 8 years old, and
Yes.
she wants to be a scientist someday.
That
And
is so cool.
she's
That is so
using this
cool.
device to look at a science diagram.
That is awesome.
And the other thing I can do is I can walk out on the floor, and
Okay.
it is quiet now. So normally you'd hear a lot of sounds. So I'll kind of describe what you would hear.
Sure.
So this is a factory floor.
Uh-huh.
I turn the
How,
corner.
if I may ask, is it okay? Like roughly how many square foot am I looking at? Or
I would say that we have about 11,000 square feet total, and probably
okay,
about um, two-thirds of that is factory
got
space.
you. Because sometimes with these build, so I used to work in Orlando at Lighthouse Central Florida Lighthouse Works, and it was roughly like 7,000 square foot. But they had we did
Yeah,
packaging, and matter of fact, DoD we won a contract with fulfillment, and so one side you had the call center, the other side the. So in your building that you said the two-thirds is basically the factory is, and then
one-third office. Yeah,
offices. Okay, so everything
yeah,
is in one confinement. I don't have to go drive around and
that's right. And I'm
okay,
just kind of panning around, and what we see here
okay,
are shelving of a lot of different bits and pieces, as you can imagine. There's tables and chairs set up as stations for people to work on, a lot of computer equipment, a lot of robotics. The entire facility is safe for electronics, so there are special clothing that you wear so you don't static shock the parts,
okay, okay. So
and
anti-static coats.
anti-static. You'll hear slight noises today. When we're running, you'll hear more noise of the robots and machines running. Right now, I'm showing one of the robotic stations. It's sort of a giant circle with a
Okay,
whole bunch of different robot arms that go into the middle and pick things up and put things down. And I have a couple of other machines over here. These machines run off of air and electricity, so they're partly
wow.
pneumatic. And they have different robot arms that work together to make these tiny parts, all
Man, I can't wait to come
automatically.
up there to hear it, man. I'm just
It's
saying.
we'll do a full thing.
Yeah, yeah. Look
I'm
here.
kind of panning past some 3D printers, which we use a little bit of
How many,
those.
how many, how many 3D printers do we got
We
there,
have
ladies and gentlemen? Let's
six of
count them.
them, six
Six.
3D printers. Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Getting a couple more in soon. And in the
Right
main
on.
area where I'm looking at now, we see a lot of
Yes.
microscopes and large monitors. We do a lot of enlargement.
Okay.
That's because the parts are so small you can't see them. So
So
you're
nano, right? We said.
nano, yeah, milli, micro, and nano. So
So
those are the
nano for
scales.
science is the smallest, then
Pretty much as
milli,
small as you can get. Yeah,
and then what was
we're
after milli?
micro.
Micro.
So we're at the micro scale mostly.
Okay.
And that is really small, but still big enough that it's possible to see with your naked eye if you look closely,
Okay.
depending on how good you are. And
But for
here,
making chips, that's when you go to nano or what have you?
correct,
Okay.
yes. I have a couple lasers, so I'm showing a picture of
Not
one of our
chips like French
lasers.
fries or
No,
Doritos,
like
right?
computer chips.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yes, exactly. I'm showing a picture of one of our lasers here.
Okay.
This is a laser we use to solder those computer chips.
So the
Um,
laser is programmed and it's boop, done. Like that's the solder
exactly. Yeah,
machine.
it
Okay.
it it runs pretty quickly, a matter of seconds.
Right.
and there's some equipment next to that and stations that
As they
run
say,
that.
pew pew. I mean,
Pew pew. It is actually like that. It's like Star Trek. And
right.
we have a couple different lasers we use, and we have some examples here, some of the parts set out and things in process of either doing what we call burn in, which is where we do a lot of testing of parts to make sure that they're good, and you can see kind of the innards of the device before it's been put together and that sort of
Interesting.
thing. There's a lot of meters, a lot of dials and gauges and things. We try to let the computers and the meters do a
Right.
lot of the work for us. And
Because you're keeping so it's not like audio meters, right?
no, these are more like electronic meters. They are similar though. They
Okay.
measure something and give you a result.
So what are they metering? Yeah, what are they metering? Amperage,
Mostly
voltage, wattage?
mostly different electric features, but we do a lot of things. We measure current, we measure voltage, we measure resistance, we measure
So current
capacitance.
times voltage equals wattage. Sorry, if you we're practicing for the ham radio
There you
preparation, man.
go.
So that's
Yeah,
one of the questions. It's what do you multiply to find out watt?
yeah.
WATT.
Yeah, you got it. So
Okay.
work on your power and your amps, your volts, and your watts, and throw in ohms. And I'm walking now through our machine shop,
Okay. Cool.
and so this is just kind of showing this. This is a lot of
And
tooling
why do they call it a machine shop?
because it's full of machines that make things.
Okay.
In this case, I have what are called CNC machines, and I'm just kind of showing the inside of it here. And a CNC
Whoa.
machine is
Whoa.
a
Sorry.
it's like a it's like a giant drill press kind of.
Whoa. Okay.
And the idea behind that is that rather than the operator by hand moving the bits around and drilling and making holes and cutting and milling and doing all this, the computer does all of it. So we draw a picture of what we want to make in a file, which is a CAD file, a 3D file, and then it just goes to the machine and the machine carves it out. I make it sound so simple.
Yeah, just put it over there and we'll look over there. That's what.
Yeah. And there's a lot that goes into
I
that.
just wonder how many days of persistence and experience and everything else, mathematics, all of that. Put it in a stir in the pot, and I guess this is the outcome. But
Might
how
be
many
measured
hours do you
in,
think a day you spent on getting to this point?
well, you'd measure that in years, I think, at this
Okay,
point.
so but what is
Um,
your typical day like then?
well, it's interesting. Being a CEO, you could argue either do nothing or you do everything, and any given day, you're not sure where that
And
spectrum will
ladies and gentlemen,
fall.
Dave Schleppenbach. He's letter B. Sorry. Because what I want to say that is the fact that you do the work while you are still the CEO. You're not in your office. You're
Right.
on the floor. Hey, I don't want to cut myself open, so let me talk to you in a minute. But not saying it that way, but you're there doing the exact same thing your colleagues are doing. Colleagues, teamwork, experience.
Yes. For me at least, and I've now walked back to my office here.
Okay, okay.
I believe in something called the servant leader model.
Yes, yes, agreed.
And
I
it's to
live
me
by that.
it's important to lead by example. And if you ask
Yes,
someone to do something, you really want them to know that you've done it, you understand how hard it is, and that you're not asking to do something that's unreasonable. You're asking to do something that can be done. And so over the years, I've had to do every process myself. I mean, there have been times when I've had a sleeping bag next to that CNC machine because we had to run parts 24 hours in a row.
right.
And then there's been other times when we've been involved in having dozens of people working on something, and my job was to do a spreadsheet, and everything in between. But a typical day for me will vary. I do have a lot of travel days, whether I'm visiting a customer or
48 states. Sorry.
one of the 48 states, exactly.
Hey,
Um,
Alaska. Hey, Hawaii. Come
on
on.
days when I'm not traveling, I tend to do different phone calls and meetings in the morning, kind of get that
Right,
out of the way.
right.
For the middle part of the day, I'm always trying to spend time with our team. If they run into a problem, I will help them to try to figure out what the answer is. Then towards the end of the day, the team will leave, and then I'll use that time to try to catch up on paperwork, email, that sort of thing. I never know what I'm going to do any given day, and I don't know that I'd have it any other way because it certainly doesn't get boring, that's for sure.
Right. Keeps you on your toes, keeps you on your feet. Whew. Wow. Um, I'm just soaking it in. Sorry. This device, we spoke about it and we spoke about the term Braille. Um, what is this device and where is it going?
So I'm holding one here up to the camera so
Okay.
people that see that part can get a
Sure.
feel. But basically, it's a pocket-sized computing device. It's just like a phone you carry in your pocket. You do things with it. This one's a little different though, because instead of just looking at it and touching it with your fingers, it has raised dots that you can feel with your fingers, and those dots move up and down.
I remember there's like Ripley's Believe It or Not or something. You used to put your hand in this little machine and it had
Yep.
little pins on it and then like your palm print was on this.
That's exactly the idea.
Oh, snap. Okay. Carry
In
on.
fact, I bought one of those from a novelty store in 1995, and
Yeah.
that was the inspiration
The
for
little
this
square and
device.
then you put, yeah,
Yeah,
you make a shape of whatever you want,
here we are 30 years later, and we
but
finally
it's
got to it.
electronic.
It's electronic. So what happens is the
Wait,
computer,
3,500. Sorry, I'm just, now I'm
yep,
rewinding the tapes in my head. I was like,
yeah,
wait, what? Carry
yeah, the
on. Sorry.
computer makes those dots move up and down. And so
Okay.
that allows you to do things like pictures or shapes. You could do graphics, you can do text, you can do animation. They're pixels that you can just feel them. That's the difference.
And the name of the object is
It is called the
Cadence,
Cadence
like
tablet.
so, Zildjian jazz drumsticks hitting on a drum.
Yeah, you got it. The
Cadence. Okay.
Cadence,
CAD.
Dence. Yep.
Okay. And then tablet. Okay.
Tablet. Yep. Cadence tablet.
Interesting. So if I guess when can we take that to Hawaii? I've
You know
never been
what?
either. I'm
My
just
wife and I are ready to go, right?
I need to go. Hey, friends, Hawaii, if you're listening, please. This is why I'm doing this channel. I'm trying to bring you a resource, right? Dave Schleppenbach, thank you. At this point, we've been talking. I don't want to make it too long, but I think we are at a present day point of who you are.
Hmm.
But your colleagues, how many colleagues runs this establishment that makes this Cadence tablet?
Well, I
I
have
want to shout them out. I mean, we heard about your daughter, and
yeah,
congratulations to her for her desk too, and
I
we'll
have
get to learn more.
about 30 people that work here now.
Okay,
My founder partners, there were three of them,
okay,
Alex, Tom, and Wanji.
okay.
And they were very generous with time and money, and they still work to help us day to day. And then
Yes,
we've accumulated all sorts of other wonderful employees and people who are deeply involved in this and very passionate about it.
for sure. And what are your expectations for the next 6 months to a year?
This is a really interesting time because we're going through a rapid growth phase. So we sort of proved out that we could actually make these things, and I think what caught us by surprise was the demand. Um,
57 is your highest number, as we call it. Yeah, man.
Yeah, in a 3-day sprint. And so
Whew.
we're right now we're back
Great job,
ordered
guys.
by a couple hundred units. And
Awesome.
so we're trying to catch up on that. And we believe this year will be a record sales year, and we believe next year already is going to be another record on top of
See,
that. And that's
other thing
great.
with Dave, he's like a basketball player. So he runs around a lot. He's always sprinting, right? So if I ask him, how many states do we have in America right now that have these devices?
I believe we're up to 11 states now.
Wham! You see, the man's CEO, but he knows his stats. I'm just saying he's different, guys. I'm just saying you're different, Dave. Sorry, not to talk about you while I'm in front of me, but that's the fascination that I had about you is not for one that you had a device, but you came to Florida. So just to kind of give him a briefing and what to expect in the future from me, you came to Florida in February. Well, you came to Florida in 2024 in January,
Hmm.
and I met you rather through the Blind and Beyond radio show. And I have a video thanking them because I was on their radio show a couple times. And August 31st is when I go. You'll be there tomorrow, right? I
I will
think.
be on tomorrow night.
So
Yes.
blindandbeyondradioshow.com or .org. And if you go down to the bottom or even ask your A lady or G person smart speaker, just ask for WFTL and you'll be able to call in to even ask Dave any specific questions because this episode's going up like right after I'm done here. It'll take time to maybe process, but this is way too good right now to not let the people hear you. So go ahead and call in 407 That's the number during the showtime on Sunday from 7 to 9 p.m. Eastern Time. And aside from that piece there of him being on the radio, I met him there, and then we went to this conference called ATIA, Asia. And again, I have a video that my first time at Asia in 2024 in January. So, what relations do you have there? What affinity to Asia conference do you have, Dave?
Well, I was one of the board members way back when the organization got started, and there was a very small group
Mind
of
blown
people.
again. Let's
Yeah, it's
see
a
how many
small.
stats. 4 to 5, 5 6, 5 out of 6. I think you're at right now. Sorry.
Yeah, it's funny, you get older and you forget things that you did until someone reminds you, right?
Well,
And
it's just like basketball. You have to have free throws. I mean, yeah,
yeah,
you have the 3 point line covered. You got your baseline. Yeah, man.
but yeah, it's a great organization. ATIA is the Assistive Technology Industry Association. And if I can remember, it's been a while, but I think when we started, there was something like 8 companies. It was a very small number.
Okay.
And it grew up to, at one point, I think over 400, a huge
Wow.
show. And, if you go to the show now, it's a really big production. There's a lot of
Yes.
people there.
Yes.
They're still getting a little bit of a recovery from COVID, just like all
True.
conferences are. But
And cost is also another big factor. I would say for a lot of people,
yeah,
$400 sometimes to afford. Your entry tickets could be a bit steep, but
the smartest decision they ever made was to schedule that in Orlando in January.
yes.
Everybody wants to go to Orlando in
Yes.
January.
And I look forward to when. So let's kind of rewind the tape there. First time I ever felt the cadence. That was Gen 1. That's the first time, whatever, first thing that I met. The introduction happened because we emailed back and forth off the radio station, and here you were like, "Hey, I would love to see this," and it was a bit noisy because everybody was in the hallway, so you had a lot of
Yeah.
echoes. But if I could find that video, or maybe use some Google Eraser tool or something on it, maybe or edit it. But from that point on, I was off to India and whatnot. But I did mention about the product. Do you have this product in other countries?
We do. We have now 5 countries, including the United States.
Okay. Would
And
you happen to remember which other
yeah,
ones?
it's Canada, the UK,
Uh-huh.
France, and Dubai.
And India, I'm coming for you next. Let me know what
There
I
you
need to
go.
do. Because I mean, Twinkle and Raj, my cousins, whatnot. I mean, Raj is so crazily well versed in his engineering because I had a cooling pad, right? I took with me. I'm like, hey, it's dusty in here. You mind breaking it apart? There's about 47 screws, but took it apart, put it back together. I'm like, wait, everything works? He's like, yeah. So the mindset of the young generational, we could call it, or older or whatnot, it's the willingness to do the work. And one thing that you've taught, I think, everybody tonight is that you put the effort in and your outcome is this today, right? And with these outcomes, um, helping you is pretty easy to do, right? It's more of a friendship, a brotherhood, as you've taken with me. We got to meet in February, as we said again this past year, 2025. Didn't get to do much in 24. You've been down to the Miami area with American Council for the Blind folks on the radio show. So that was the first instance I heard you. And then at ACB, you've been to NFB meetings as well, right?
Yes, I have.
In conferences. Okay. Was it at the state or was it the national?
Well, over the years, I've been to the national conventions of all the groups
Okay.
a number of times, and then I've probably been to, an NFB. I've been to maybe half of the state conventions, and ACB probably a third.
Okay. Okay.
So
So I mean, it's not like they couldn't find you there. For like next year, I would love to do ATI again, as mentioned, and then CSUN. Do you go to
absolutely,
CSUN?
we do go to CSUN.
Oh
I
man,
have not
awesome.
been in a couple years
Right.
myself.
California State University, Northridge.
Yep,
And what is
it's
that
a
about? What is that thing?
well, that's an interesting conference because I,
Okay.
I've been going to it for
Okay.
30 years now. So a
Hmm.
long time. And, I've missed a few years here and there, but it's a
Sure.
giant conference. It's people from all over the world. It's about technology. It's about disabilities. It's about making connections.
So the biggest conference for disabilities and technologies, huh?
I
Would,
believe
so
so.
to sum
Yeah.
it up,
I would believe that's correct. And it's a big trip and it's kind of expensive for people to
yes.
go, but there's also a real reward
And that's by
of
LA, San
attending. It's in
Diego,
Anaheim, I believe now.
Anaheim.
It
Okay.
started in LA, it then shifted a little while to San Diego, and now it's back up to Anaheim.
Okay. Okay. So we covered like most of the conferences there, but come March, so February 20, I keep going back and forth because again, it's just, these conferences are important to
Yeah.
everybody to notice who you are. And with that said, in March, you came, well, February 1st, we met, we took, you came alone yourself. We went to the Conklin Davis Center here in Daytona Beach, and then we went to the Career Technology Training Center for the Blind, which is under the Division of Blind Services umbrella. And we were graciously allowed to share, or at least I was able to make a meeting for you there to let my constituents, my city, my town know about this device. What was your experience like with that?
That was a wonderful experience. Just first of all, I love meeting new people,
Right.
especially people that we could help. And one thing I remember about those early meetings there is we had a young lady that was a cancer survivor, and
Man,
she
that
was
day it was like my
struggling.
mom passed, and it's just like that.
Yeah,
It hit like, hey, mom, look, I'm doing exactly what you wanted me to do.
that's right. Yeah,
The
and
pathway. Yeah.
many people have had cancer touch their
Yes.
life, and
Yes.
so to see this young lady, cancer survivor, had lost her vision, but so resilient, so willing to learn, excited about new technology, excited about new ways to learn, trying to learn how to read again with her fingers, and getting a chance to just be a small part of that. That was
And I
awesome.
have asked her for permission for just mentioning her name, but Haley Cruz out here in Daytona. But with Haley, was the interesting thing is I'm sitting there with Dave on the sideline, so to speak, but he's explaining it to this group of, let's call it 7, 8 people around a round table. But all of a sudden, you start seeing Haley literally learn Braille in front of you. So I will be chopping up some videos. I have the videos, but it's just they don't show anything but you hear. So I'm going to probably capture the audio and get some videos posted soon for you all. But it's just that idea of like, wow, this is real time. It wasn't just practice. Nobody talked to each other.
Yeah,
So
really amazing. And I've had that joy of that experience kind of all over the country, and I
nice.
never get tired of it,
That is so awesome. That's a great reward to go to work. Hey, this is what you get. Like
It's
what?
kind of like being Santa Claus,
Right?
right?
But it's that breakthrough moment, right? It's that the next time she came back into the picture again. So Haley is there. This is March, and now here's Haley teaching other people.
Yep.
It's the
That
wildest
was
thing. Is it's like
amazing.
what?
Yeah.
And then this time, your wife was around. I'm not going to share her name because didn't ask permission yet. But uh, she's filming, and again, it's just incredible how she was able to at least remember what she had learned from just that one experience.
Yeah.
And then when we
And
went
then
to
share with others. Yeah.
share to others, and we went to the Career Technology Training Center, we solved some problems in the WAS, what is it, Web Accessibility
Yeah.
Specialist field.
Yeah.
So could you explain what did you solve? Because that thing is hard to solve, but your team did it. What did they do?
Well, so they have some folks there who are visually impaired who are learning to diagnose and repair problems with websites that are not accessible to products like screen
Digital
readers, for
accessibility
example.
field, I guess, right?
Exactly, digital accessibility. So that's a challenging field because you
Right.
have to actually know some programming skills to do that. And we had a gentleman there that had been struggling because the tools he was using, visually, they would highlight code that needed to be looked at, but there was no way for him to access that since he couldn't see. You can't really do that through audio, and so he needed a tactile way to do that. And we were pretty darn sure that we could make that work. And as it turned out, that young man ended up ordering the product
And
through.
this is August, and we're talking about literally March, no, February of 2025.
Yeah. And so then he ended up ordering the product through DVS. He's gotten his product. He's been on the phone with our support people and he is able to do the tasks that he needed to do. And of course, we may even add some more support, depending on how it's going. But it was really a great experience to sort of immediately be able to solve a problem. And I just found out
Okay.
he had his certification exam,
Uh-huh.
and now he's got a job lined up doing that very task. So
Congratulations.
just
Wow.
awesome, really
Yeah,
exciting.
exactly. And that's what you gave me when I first met you, Dave. I mean, you took the time in February. I didn't even mention iBug Android Insight call that I co-host. It's been 5 years sharing Android stuff. But I was like, hey, Dave, you mind coming in? So we met in February. You came on that Friday or that Wednesday. We met on Android, iBug Android Insight. I'll link it down in the description. And then after that, March came around, or March that Friday came around. You came in person. Then when March did come around, you made a second trip, and this time again we met Haley. We met similar people, but they're new people checking out the device. In that we talked about editing and stuff like that. So could this be a great tool for music editors or to feel what a pulse feels like? Like a equalizer.
Yeah, I think so. And I've done some studio work myself, just as a
Right,
hobbyist and playing instruments and mixing. And it is really complicated. There's a lot going on with audio engineering and mixing. And one of the key things is many of the tools that are used are visual. You have sliders that you move up and down, for example, but those nowadays are done on touch screens or just with a mouse or something.
right.
And so one of the neat things with the Cadence is we have an app that does that graphic equalizer, that audio visualizer, and it lets you control those things, and that's pretty
You know
cool,
what?
I
We need to
think.
talk some more about this because you just gave me the greatest. So solid state logic is what's powering my audio chain right now. It's a little interface, right? They actually are investing time in accessibility, but they make a SSL meter. And if that meter has the data, it's application that's on a Windows machine. Could this device potentially just go ahead and see what's on the screen?
Yeah, we actually have a mode for that. Even if we don't have anything special, we call it screen mirror mode, and
Okay,
it'll simply just display whatever is happening on your screen live, like video. It's
right.
like mirroring a screen to a second monitor.
And you could feel it because just thinking, okay, what is my audio gain level? Am I at negative 24
Yeah,
decibels or blah, blah, blah? This could be the tactile feel of it plus the visual and the auditory through JAWS or, whatever
that's right.
screen narrator, voiceover, talkback, depending on the platform, right?
That's right. Yep, exactly.
I see a lot
I
of
think we've
future.
solved all the problems of the world in one session, right?
I think we just chipped at one corner of the world. Um, if we only have 9 states, 11 states, five
We
countries, I
we
want.
got more countries and more states to go, right?
I mean, already I'll take care of one of the ones. India will both conquer Hawaii because I've never been. Maybe we could
There we
find a
go.
reason to
We
get.
have I just have to mention this that
Yeah.
we have an opportunity through a grant
Oh,
that may or may not happen with National Science Foundation.
okay.
So
What can
I
I do
can't
for you,
promise. But we
or
have
what
been
can we
working
do as a
with
channel?
we've been working with observatories around the world
Okay.
to implement this equipment in observatories because it's one of the only ways that you can
I could
see
feel the sun, the moon, the
telescopic data
what?
exactly like we did with the eclipse.
Yeah.
And
Wait, I forgot. I'm gonna put more notes down there. There's too much to unravel. I mean, we could keep on going, ladies and gentlemen. I'm just saying.
we can always do another episode,
We
right?
will, we will.
We'll do
But
another one. But the short thing is one of the observatories is the one
yeah.
in Hawaii on top of the volcano.
Oh
So
man.
if that happens, there'll be a need to
I
go
just
there
need an
and
elbow. Is that you got one of
we'll
those
have
in the
to
bottom?
have some streaming done while we're there, I
Some
think.
elbow and a cane. I got all terrain cane over there. Thank you, A-Wolf Gear, for always taking care of customers. After it kind of broke on me in Orlando or in India, right? And I barely had it a few days, and they replaced it. But it's a cane where I could go on the beach, and I walked with you on the beach the times you visited.
Yeah. We're gonna have to test it in the volcano though in Hawaii.
Oh
That's,
man,
got to make sure it works.
if people are creating blind products, why not bring an uprise? Raise our people is the way I look at it. And how how can I help you in other formats of this? Your website, please. How can people find you?
Well, we're just launching a new website,
Okay.
and you can go to that website at gotouchable.com,
Okay. So,
Go
mhm.
touchable.com.
TOUCHABLE.com.
You got it. Go touchable, all
Okay,
one
the
word.
whole www dot
Dot
go.
G-O TOUCHABLE.com.
Perfect. And if, let's say, Hawaii has some wonderful people that are really interested and they want you to have them be a state approved device, because just to give that story again, not only you came in March, you came back in June, but June was different. June, you came with you met me at Infocom,
Hmm.
so that was just nuts because it was barely a couple hours, and you met three vendors. And I don't know, what was your experience there, real quick, before anything? Were you my
It was really interesting experience. Obviously it's a very large conference,
yeah
huge conference in the
yeah,
Orlando Convention Center. I had trouble just, it took me a half hour just to get to the booth. And it was really
and it's not
overwhelming
because
to
of people, ladies and gentlemen. It's there is it's
distance. Yeah,
this it's huge.
huge. It's like a city. And
Yes.
just the sensory overload with all the sounds and the smells and the
Ooh, I
sights
like this
and
mic. Ooh, ooh.
yeah. So it was very interesting, but what a great experience. Everybody we talked to was interested in disabilities and supporting, and that's a very rare thing these days.
You know what was more fun about it, and you gave me again. You give me all these good, warm heart feelings. Is we had a company, and in my second episode of the channel, pretty much, or after the intro or trailer, is the Mimo monitors guys, and they make signage as well. But I heard you guys met. Is that true?
We did, and small world, it turns out that the
Hmm.
owner of that company also graduated from Purdue.
That is
And
nice. Yeah.
they are located in Illinois, which is adjacent to Indiana. So
Okay.
they actually came over for a visit to our factory,
Right.
and we've been talking, and we're hoping to come up with some collaboration soon.
So we got at least the factor of NFB, and ACB, Asia, blah blah blah. We know your website, www.tactile, or excuse me, gotouchable.com.
Hmm.
Um, in October 3rd to the 5th, NFB State of Florida is having their or statewide convention here. May I please invite you to our state convention? Would you come, please?
We are excited. We will have some presence there for sure, even if
Okay.
it's
Okay.
not me, but
Maybe
I
it's me then.
personally will try to attend. It could be you. Who
Okay.
knows?
I mean, I'm just excited by touching those devices. As I said, when I got to
Yeah,
meet you in June, it felt different than January 2024. So the element of project management, to go back to it, you're always refining and you're always asking your stakeholders. You're always refining and you're always asking your stakeholders. And you've done an incredible job asking your stakeholders of what they want improvements in. It could be a button. I mean, someone like a Elgato, for example, they put new keys on their new Stream Decks, and they're scissor switchers, but they just feel 10 times better.
hmm,
So feedback like that for a company such as Corsair to be the parent company of Elgato, yours to be small, the ask is the same. It's about usability, it's about longevity, durability, reliability, right? So
that's right.
with those things said, um, what other thing do you want to leave your audience here that you've gained with before I let you go, sir? And
Well, I
thank you.
think and I sure appreciate it. It's really been kind of a whirlwind tour, and I think maybe the one thing I would leave people with is don't limit yourself. Don't think that you can't, because you can. And hopefully our device could help you to achieve some of that. But really, it comes from within. And I have had the pleasure of meeting thousands and thousands of people with various types of disabilities, various backgrounds, various places. And I can tell you, I've just seen some miracles, some people achieving things that seem impossible and they make it look easy. And they all started as people. They all started where you and I sit today, thinking maybe I couldn't. And yes, you can. So don't give up.
Yeah. I really mean this. You've given me hope, Dave. Just as a friend, like I said, I don't work for you. I'm not affiliated to you except as a brother, as a friend, as a human. And the stories that hey, you want to come see my community? Right now, there's cars soon to be spinning around NASCAR, and it's the Coke Zero 400, I believe, as far as the race's name. But I go back from Pepsi 400, and it was the Coke 400. So I kind of go back, and the branding may have changed slightly, but the races, the people are all the same. The people that we are living next to these days, next door, your neighbors, they're all the same. They're all humans. Don't forget how you could uplift somebody, because Dave mentioned his stories. He's gone through so many things in his life, family dynamics, schooling, education, professor, scientist, experience, reliability. List goes on and on. We all kind of came together because of the same words that we shared together. And those, or maybe thoughts, or perhaps the themes, because he started his life here in 1994, you could say, with his college and how he propelled. I moved to a new country in 1994 and see where I could propel. I am still a younger person, but I know some opportunities I might have missed. Some may have not. Some might be destiny and fate. And I'm a high believer in that message. Servant leadership is another thing I highly value. And Dave, till next time, we'll get some videos up. But I really do appreciate your time. Thank you so much for helping me, share the stories, because again, they're really important for people to realize that we're in a place anywhere in this world, but help thy neighbor is a strong power that we have, and we need to continue that. Any other
Th-
last thoughts for you?
Thank you so much for having me. It's
For
been a
sure.
pleasure and happy to do it again sometime.
Thank you. And again, look down in the comments and all that. Please do let us know what your real thoughts are. We won't get our feelings hurt, because we could only improve. Room for improvement, as they say on Office Hours Global. And I tried my best to capture exactly the story of a human being that I wanted to see. What do you want to see next? So thank you again for all your support, love, kindness, peace.